Hello, everybody. Welcome to the session for ConnectIT 365 for the Q2 release. My name is Richard. I'm the product owner and developer for ConnectIT. And of course, we will be discussing the latest updates for ConnectIT for Q2. Just to note, if you have any questions, you can put them in the questions tab at the end of this session. We will answer your questions. Before we delve deeper into the new developments, we would like to clearly state once again that it is extremely important to test our software with a new version, especially if there are customizations or integrated software on our solutions. Just as a notice, since we noticed some partners that were installing blindly in a production environment. So please take note of that. For the highlights for this session, we don't actually have a major release for Q2, but we did have two minor releases, and one of those releases is today. And we will be looking at the improvements. For a full list of the improvements and fixes, you can look at our online manual. So first of all, with the release in May, ConnectIT is now officially BC24 ready. And we had a change or improvement for exports to allow empty content for JSON and XML. This can be used for web service requests that still require post or put methods, however, don't expect or allow any request content. Next up, we have a small change in the filter for the manual exports, which is now only updated if the temporary filter is changed, and just to make it a little bit easier, and so that the filters don't get changed in the process if the filter is still the same as the actual filter in our lines. Then we had a change in the way that we manage our definition lines. We had a redesign for the move up and down actions, because those actions did a lot of transactions that were not necessary. And there was also an issue with related functions that were not moved properly in all cases. And in the latest release that we'll be releasing today, we had a change for the import, where we can now assign configuration templates to process after a line number, a definition line number, instead of a field, to also allow for processing after an unmapped line. So if we go into some of the details, you can now see that for the empty content, we have an additional processing rule on the export definition. Once again, this can be used in cases where an empty request is needed, or a request without content, or it could also be used for a file without content. But without this option, we use the old behavior where either the export is skipped, or depending on how it was exported, will result into an error that there is no content to export. With this option enabled, those validations will be skipped altogether, and the export will still be processed. Then we have the export for manual exports. On the export definition card, we have the export action that allows a manual export with temporary filters that can be changed regardless of the actual filter in the definition lines for the root data item. Previously, this was always changed before the actual export in and reverted back after the export was completed. And now we made a change that this is only changed to the temporary filter if there is actually a change detected, just to prevent some unnecessary locking. Then, as mentioned, we have the definition line management, and specifically the actions for move up and down. Previously, a lot of transactions were done to move to validate which lines and nodes were allowed to move, and that's now limited. And with this redesign, we have also fixed an issue where not all functions were moved to the correct line. And the last part, and that's actually with the release for today, we made a change to the import configuration template, which can be used to use a standard configuration template to apply for new records in the import. Previously, we had the option to apply it after a field for a certain table, to make sure that we had the correct info from the import message. So this was mostly used in combination with temporary values. However, that resulted in an issue if you wanted to process the configuration template after a definition line that was not mapped. So the field number was 0. Because if there were more than one lines with field number 0, it would use the first occurrence in the definition line instead of the correct line. So instead, we now have the option to apply after a line number. For some clarification, we also added a field to show the property name, so we know what the actual line is. And with the update, that will automatically be changed with the update or upgrade code unit. As mentioned before, the full list of changes is available in our online manual in Confluence, which is also accessible from the app. And those were all the major updates for ConnectIT for this short session. I will now take a look at if there are any questions. If you do have any questions, once again, they can be asked in the questions tab. So far, I don't see any questions. So if there are any questions later on, of course, you can mail those to support or create a support ticket or mail them to sales, depending on the sort, the type of question. So with that said, I think we can end the session now. Thank you everyone for your attention and for joining the session. And yeah, and perhaps we will see you later on in the next session for Approve It. And I hope to see you in the next session as well. Have a great day and bye.